Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is Ron. Monday already. I was explaining something to Pastor yesterday, something I went through when I woke up yesterday morning, Sunday morning, and having a familiar feeling, and all the things I had to do. And I got this kind of eerie feeling about it. And I thought, you know what? It's only Sunday, but that's really my Monday feeling. And I thought it's up to you to recreate what your Mondays feel like. Because Monday will help you. If you look at Monday as being dreary and kind of drab and low energy, it's going to help you create Tuesday. So I gave that a lot of thought and wanted to recreate my Monday and quit wishing days away. So I had a pretty good day today. Pretty good Monday. Uh, Nothing extraordinary happened, but just a good day, good energy day. So it went by pretty fast. So I hope your day went well too. Just thought I'd share that. Uh, Questions? Do we have any questions? Anyone? Um, any questions about anything we talked about on yesterday? I thought yesterday was an interesting topic. What we talked about was current affairs and how things are going, especially here in America, and how you look at things and how things make you feel. And you know, we as Africans have seen a lot and experienced a lot, and how those things make you feel, and not feeling defeated and recognizing who you are, and letting that energy be what champions you through your days. And so that was, I thought, was good discussion on yesterday, a good, frank, honest discussion uh, about where we are, the things we're seeing, the things that appear to be on the horizon, and who we are, and how we will face things. So, any questions at all about that? Uh, how do you feel? Do you feel okay about what we discussed? Or is it something that was still bothering you or up in the air? Anyone?
Ron, I have a question. This is Evelyn.
Hey, Evelyn.
Um, Hi. I don't know if anyone noticed it, but I'm outside a lot. I walk a lot, and I realized that the heat is different from the sun, and it is just a different feeling now. It doesn't feel like it's just different, and maybe I'm the only one who feel that way, but I just know it's a different type of heat. And am
Describe
I the only
it.
one feeling that way?
You're
It's
saying it's.
like it's.
I'm sorry.
Agree.
Go ahead.
I agree.
It feels, yeah,
It stings.
it doesn't
It
feel.
stings.
It's what, Pastor Jay?
It like it sting you instead of being hot. It like it sting you. It's a different kind of
Yes,
heat. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Roman though, he doesn't
So,
be in the heat.
I don't get out there if I don't have to.
but is this is this part of the solar flare that they're talking about, the intense heat? Because it doesn't feel like intense heat. It feels just like what you said, like I don't know. I
No,
can't describe it.
it's not the solar flare. It is the change is climate change. That's what affects the
Mm,
way the sun is the heat of the sun is climate change. Oh, by the way, good evening, everyone. I'm sorry.
good evening.
I just started talking like I've been on for a while.
You
Yeah.
were, but so Pastor Jay, so it's like that because of the climate change, and is it going to affect us mentally uh, and or whatever? I don't know.
Nothing affects you mentally unless you allow it to.
Well, what do you see in it spiritually?
Who, me?
Yes, sir.
Whatever.
Well, either one of you.
You, Pastor.
Actually, spiritually, I see it as an opportunity for us to use as a metric for balance in the earth. When it talks about the climate change, when we see that the climate is has returned to where it's supposed to be, I simply see it as a metric for us to see where we are. You remember the other week we were talking about how we have an influence on the weather, and if we influence the weather, how come we can't influence climate change?
Yeah.
I believe we can, and I believe it's a metric just like everything else is. See, the reality is this: everything that you see in the material world is a manifestation of divine power. Now, all the things that are adverse to the power of divinity are the things that men create as an illusion. For example, everything that we see in this earth, all the adverse things that we experience are illusions that have been brought into existence by men. The things that the divine, that our creator has brought into existence are real. And what we have allowed to happen is the climate, we have allowed the climate to be affected by attitude of those who are in power, as well as by their greed in terms of the atmospheric condition that's changed by the exhaust from automobiles and etc. Now, we can accept that as our reality that we have to deal with or put up with, or we can see it as an illusion that we can correct. And when we correct it, then that correction begins to influence how people think. We don't, when you see something that was going awry and you bring it back to balance, now you have a shift in your thought patterns. But as long as things are awry, there are people who feel like there's nothing we can do about it, and that makes it even worse. Does that make sense?
So that connects to our discussion on yesterday.
I suppose it does, yes.
So when you talk about affecting or climate change, we're not just talking about weather patterns here. We're talking about actions of man, of
Oh,
men.
oh, yes, we are.
So
Yes, we are.
yeah,
The whole reason that there is climate change is because of the actions of men, greedy men at that, Europeans most specifically. Think about it. European nations put more carbons into the atmosphere than anyone on Earth, and they have the best system of coping with it than anyone on Earth. People on Earth are starving because of the climate, the adverse effect that carbons have on the climate. Yet, even though it's more expensive in this country and other European countries, it does not have an adverse effect on how we live, or it doesn't affect us as much as it does people who are in other countries who's still living under the shackles of imperialism and colonialism.
Okay.
And Pastor too, it keeps feeling like a blanket is over me. I know I used to walk when I get off from work, but again, because of the intense of the heat, because of the feeling that I'm getting from the sun, the rays, it feels like it's a blanket over the earth.
Change it.
So
I'm not trying to be funny, but change it.
No. I know you're not. How do I do that?
Desire. The same way that we dealt with weather. Is the weather lady on today? Where is she? Yes.
Of course she is.
Okay. the same way we did the weather. You want to talk about that?
Well, I'll give you a quick example, if it'll help. All last week, we had our outdoor festival Saturday past. The week before, we were watching the weather, and it was supposed to have been cloudy, rainy, and just overcast, not a good day Saturday. We kept pushing the energy back. If I'm the same energy as the weather, and the weather's the same energy that I am, then I am the one in control of that energy. So we just kept pushing it out and telling it, no, this is what we need. We need a day that's not hot, and we need a day that's comfortable and not raining. And the forecast just kept changing. About the time we got to Friday evening, it was 81 degrees for Saturday. It was supposed to have been partially cloudy. It was 81, sunny with a cool breeze, and a perfect day for an outdoor festival. We did that by desire and saying to that, and I don't mean verbally, you don't have to speak it out loud. It's like peace be still. If peace be still means I'm speaking to you and telling you what you can and cannot do, we have the authority to do that same thing with that weather. And so we just changed it by changing our attitude. We didn't accept that it was supposed to rain Saturday. We kept pushing it out. And then what did it do here? I don't know what it did yesterday in Columbia, but the rain came and was breezy, cool, overcast, and rainy all day yesterday. That's what Saturday was supposed to have been. And that desire to say no, for the good of this event, this is what we need. But just in life in general, destructive storms and all of these things, when we learn that we're that same energy and we calm that energy down, we have that ability to change that pattern, weather pattern, when we desire. And I hope that makes sense, Evelyn, or anyone else that may have a question.
It does. And I love the way you speak with authority. I mean, it's like you owning it. You know, Kathy and the others, you know, we are gods. And it's like you owning what you're saying. And again, you're speaking with authority. And I appreciate that answer. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And I had to learn that by living through the tornadoes in Rock Hill, being there by myself in the middle of the night, not having an opportunity to pick up the phone and call anybody, and having to deal with knowing what to do in the sense of knowing who I am and sitting on the side of the bed and speaking to those tornadoes as they're moving through, because one came all the way down my street and turned when it got to my house and went across the field across from me and went into the neighboring town where someone was killed. This is real to me. This is what I live by, because I really believe when we say that we are that energy, and the same energy in this atmosphere is the same makeup of who I am, but I've been given that authority over that energy. That's what we have to trust and know that we have the ability to do.
I'm glad you said that, because on the way home, I'm like, okay, and I know we talk about this all the time. Okay, how can I start trusting God more on these things? Because sometimes it's like I doubt myself about situations or things. And I'm like, okay, I need to start trusting source more than what I've been doing. Because sometimes I flip back and forth. But I want to be able to stand on what I know and what you guys have been teaching us. How can I handle that? How can I deal with that? Help me understand, please.
It works better when you trust who you are. Because the Creator's already told you that it's up to you. You are the one to dominate this earth realm. So you trust what you're saying to be the truth. When Kathy was talking, I was reminded, it was a couple of days ago, it was supposed to storm. And I said, I need to get this grass cut before a storm. And I made a decision that I was going to do it uninterrupted. And I did it. And the moment that I put my foot on the step to come in the house, after I finished, it started raining. I took that as a reminder to me of the authority that we have. It could have started raining an hour later, I wouldn't have paid any attention. But because it did it, the moment I put my foot on the step to come into the house, it spoke volumes to me. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. I hear you.
And I want to add one
both.
more thing, Pastor. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I just said I hear the both of you.
Oh, I was going to say I wanted to add one more thing. I learned, Evelyn, and this is a learning curve, a learning process. It really is, knowing who you are. If I knew tornadoes were coming my way and the weather was supposed to be severe, and I had time to think about it, I would call Pastor. I said, I need you to be in agreement with me. He says, I'll do what I do. You just believe who you are, and that's what I would do. But the night I woke up and it was already there in the middle of the night, blew out the transformer, and I'm in pitch blackness and the wind is howling at everything around me. I didn't have time to call anybody. So I had to get up, sit on the side of my bed, because this is what I felt I needed to do. And I kept breathing until I connected with the energy. And I began to speak to it and say, you will not be destructive. You will not harm anyone. No one died that night. And I learned from that incident that I can handle it when I have to. But boy, it's easier for me sometimes to say, Pastor, you got this with me. But I'm learning to say, even if I can't get to Pastor, do I have this? And I'm finding that based on what we're being taught and trusting in what we believe and what we're teaching, we really do. You were saying something, Pastor. I'm done. Thank you.
I remember another example is that is when Sandy, I was in Philadelphia when the hurricane came through. And I remember after I had gotten back, I remember Audrey said something to the effect that, well, once they said that it was above Richmond, we didn't worry about it anymore because we knew you were in Philadelphia. So we weren't concerned anymore because we knew you had it. And that night is one of those nights. I don't know whether LaVon and George are on or not. However, that was one of those nights that I was sitting there with George and LaVon waiting for Chris, my nephew, to come home. And I told them don't be afraid of it because I got this. It's not going to happen. The tornadoes are not going to drop from the clouds. It's not going to be a category 4. Hurricane Philadelphia will not flood. Tamara's on her way home through the park. Don't worry about it. This is handled. And it was that night that I think LaVon could see what I had been saying, and things changed. Now, in doing so, this is not for everyone to discuss with everyone, because some people think you're crazy. And I'm not saying don't do it because some people think you're crazy. I'm saying don't do it because unless someone asks you, because it's not necessary for anyone to know what you're doing unless you see the need to inform them so you can dispel their fear or their concern. Does that make sense?
I remember that night, Pastor, and it was the storm that I've never, ever seen or experienced before. And you were correct. Chris was on his way home, and I had a lot of fear in my, and I think you saw it, and that's when you said it. And Tamara had just left, like you said, going home, even though she was still in the city, but she had to go through a very dangerous part of the park. And yeah, it was something to witness. And I was at the beginning of my journey with you, and it was, and I was like, he isn't going to be able to do this And that's what I was telling myself. Okay, he said he gonna calm the storm, and I'm thinking, I don't know, but it did. It actually did, and I was glad I witnessed it. I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I got one more thing to ask. Just, yeah, please. I used to sing this song in church. Jesus said, "Try me, and I'll open up the windows of heaven, pour you out the blessings that you won't have room to receive." How does that line up with what we're talking about tonight?
You, Jesus. Not in terms of Jesus, the church Jesus, but in terms of the power to change things for the benefit of humanity in that regard. Because when the church talks about blessings, it's always for themselves, as opposed to people, or the people rather. Does that make sense?
It does. So what are the blessings? Me opening up or becoming aware?
You are the blessing.
And one of the blessings is deliverance. Deliverance from what it is, whatever it is you need deliverance from, whether it's weather, whether it's health crises. It doesn't matter. You just have to understand and know that you are the deliverer in the earth, because you are God in the earth. And until you can't half step that. You gotta know that you know that. And then once you know that, you have to act on what you know. And having fear is not acting on what you know. Having fear suggests that you really aren't quite sure yet.
Ashe.
You good, Evelyn?
Yes, sir.
No,
I do.
I think we're at a good place. I think we're at a place that if we need to slow things down and get understanding, that is okay too. I want to invite this conversation, the metaphors that we're using here, talking about the climate, and kind of pull together what we discussed yesterday. When it comes, I'm gonna just say this, okay? Y'all can help me out here, straighten it out. When it comes to white folks, Europeans, threatening with guns as they love to do and whatnot, and people threatening if Trump loses this election, or if this happened, or if that happened, we're going to do this. And it does cause a little anxiety, not just with us on this phone, but our people. So applying this to what we're talking about now, apply that to, help us bring a picture that, because we are who we are, and not just talking about the winds and the rage of a tornado, but it's the same energy that causes that tornado and that hurricane that brings about the fear. Even the fear is energy. So let's tie that together based on what we're talking about here now, because I like what LaVon said. She said, I had my doubts, and if we are truthful, we have doubts at times. But I really feel when we have these discussions, those doubts are growing fewer and fewer as we see and recognize who we are. So let's talk about what we discussed yesterday and kind of apply this same energy to it, the same thing. Do you understand what I'm asking? Does it make sense?
I think so. More specifically, what are you asking? Ron?
You ask more specifically?
Yeah.
Um, I think sometimes it may not be easier to tackle a hurricane. I'm not saying that at all, or to look at the heat of the sun, and those things. You gotta have faith and know who in yourself and knowing who you are. But the mountain that we don't think we can move is racism. The mountain that we have trouble with is the ignorance and of the European and his rage, but it is the same energy as we're discussing now, and that's I hope that is
Yeah.
specific. Uh,
I'll let someone else address it before I do, Ron. Come on, someone else. Um,
Not the same
I
principles apply.
The same principles apply, yes. And the key to it is this: the people who are privy to what we are teaching are the ones who have to believe within themselves, we got this. For example, when I was talking, when I was talking, referencing what I was talking about with Levon and Chris and my niece Tamara, it was like, I got this. Well, we're at a place now where it's not where I have this, I got it. It's where we got this. You understand what I'm saying? Now, when it comes to the people's apprehensions about what's going to happen when Trump loses this election, they're going to have those. But it's up to us to hold the ring on that. Because if their fear is there, their fear is going to cause it to happen. If we are who we are and we maintain who we are, and we know that this is for the purpose of bringing the nation into existence, then the things that are being projected will not happen. Why? Because we are the wall, we are the barrier, we are the change agents to make sure that men don't have to suffer at the hands of the racists as they have done in the past, because we are here representing the power and force of righteousness. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's what I see.
Anyone else?
And the thing that I thought about as you were talking is that not only are we doing it if Mr. Trump doesn't get elected, we're doing it for those people who are going to be so afraid because he did not get elected as well.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to remember. It's not just for those who want to see the Biden administration prevail. We're in the stopgap for all those other folks. And by virtue of what we're doing and the energy that we're resonating, the desire has to be that in spite of and because of what happens, that some of them will, and because of what we put in the macro, that in spite of what they think at the time, that there is going to be a shift in their mentality and their thinking as well over time. That's what I have. I'm positive about as well. It may not be everybody, but there are going to be those who will see it because of the energy that's available to them. The positive energy, the energy about harmony, energy about balance, and it will quell their fears.
And not only for us here, but there are leaders all over the world that are, as I heard in the news today, are planning contingent plans about what if Trump gets elected. Now, you know that's based on fear as well. So the fear is not just for this country, but the fear is for the world in general. Thank you.
So we're like that intercessors for others.
We're preparers of the breach. You're right.
Yeah.
This is Ramel. I have a question. What is the difference between shaping? We talked about not shaping something and being a repairer of the breach. What's the difference? Because sometimes I get lost in that.
When you shape something, it almost suggests that you have an idea of what it is and how you want it to look,
Okay.
how you want it to be, what is the outcome that you want to see, and you're doing it from your own perspective. When you are simply repairers of the breach and you're standing in the gap, you're trusting your resonance with the universe that what is going to happen is going to be what's righteous and what's good and what's just for everybody. And it may not, and I have to tell you, because sometimes when you've had some ideas about what you want to see and you don't see that, it can cause you to step back and say, I don't know but you can't do that. You gotta trust that we resonate with the universe. And even though it doesn't seem like we are happy or concerned or satisfied with what happens, it doesn't matter. That's the thing we have to make sure we don't see things with our eyes, but with the eye. And that's where the eye is. The eye is connected to everything that the universe is about, because we are part of the universe. We are the universe. And so it does, whatever happens, we got to trust that it's the righteous thing, and that it's in resonance with the universe. I'm sorry, I get wordy sometimes, so forgive me.
No, it really helps, Miss Barbara. It makes me stop and think about shaping would be if I were to say, I want Biden to win, I want him to do, getting down it, as opposed to saying, this is for all of mankind, and going with whatever happens, whatever comes down the road, we're still standing on the belief that it's we're headed in the right direction, no matter how rough it gets.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You go ahead and vote. And whatever happens, it happens. Why? Because as Barbara said, you trust in the universe. We should not shape things because of the contamination that we've experienced through indoctrination. We are still being purged. Does that make sense?
Yes, that adds to it. Yes.
Good question, though. Good question. Anyone else?
Ron, I remember the song Aretha Franklin made. I don't know if you guys remember this, but she made the song, Let It Be, Let It Be. There will be an answer, just let it be. And that's what you guys are saying.
Yeah, she made the
Just
Beatles song.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they stole it from us, but okay.
I'm gonna leave you alone.
What my thought is on this is I want all of us to be on the same page. We're on a journey. I know I say that a lot, but we're on a journey, and we are riding the wave of the universe. I believe that with all my heart, and not to see the faces of Donald Trump or Biden or anybody else, that we do understand these are spiritual concepts. And it is the spiritual, evilness is coming through, being manifested through men, but we're dealing with spirituality here. And as we see that, this is no different than anything else that we have approached in recognizing who we are.
I was talking to someone today, and I said to them, our concern is not Trump, neither is it Biden. If Trump were to die today, the same energy would be in existence. Our goal is to transform that energy into something that is beneficial to humanity, so that regardless of who stands in that space, everything is geared toward being a benefit to humanity. So it's about the energy, not the man. And that's where we have to keep our focus, on the energy and not the man. We get caught up with the man, then we are in the same place where we've always been. And that is trying to tell the universe what to do. Because quite frankly, when you really give thought to it, Biden is just as much of a racist as Donald Trump. If Biden was not a racist, why would he make every effort to justify the genocide that he is fueling in Gaza? If that's not racist, what is it? Because he knows, and everyone else on this earth knows, that Israel is wrong. But yet, he won't deal with it. If there were people that look like him, it'd be a whole different story. So it's not about the man, it's about the principle. And I hope that helps.
It does.
I look at the fact that we are the consciousness of this world. We are the ones that bring value to human life. We are the ones that bring value to everything that lives. And why do I say that? Because it is the African who has, throughout creation, shown pain when there is pain in the earth. It doesn't have to be him or her that's feeling the pain, but we feel pain. We have felt pain so much till it is hard to even fathom how some of this, how we even got here, that people can kill without reason, without cause, without gaining anything from it, really. So it is that love that we're seeing spread now, and that type of consciousness that we are hoping to help that people to value life. You talk about Biden, and I even look at what's going on in other parts of the world, including Africa. People kill just to kill. Life has no type of value to them. So that's the energy we deal with, not just those faces that CNN shows us 25 hours out of the day. But that is what we are doing here, and that consciousness is what is I think too is being upheld, and that energy is being shared by the ancestors, and that too is part of the strength that we have. So,
but Ron,
yes, sir.
We deal with the energy that we're talking about with the attitudes of Trump and Biden, that European attitude. What we're actually talking about is an attitude of superiority, an attitude that perpetuates imperialism and colonialism. Once we deal with that, then we don't have to contend with the murders that's taking place in Africa and other places with them fighting each other, because all of that is fueled by the same attitude, the same principles, the same policies, the same money, the same sources that is fueling Trump and Biden. Same thing. All of it come from the same place. You will not find any place on the continent of Africa where weapons are made, with the exception of South Africa and Israel. No place on that continent. Yet, all the weapons on that continent, the amount of weapons rather on that continent, are enough to wage war worldwide. So where did they come from? When the people don't have the purchasing power to get them, who gave them to them and for what purpose? So when we deal with the colonial powers and the imperialism involved, we change that. Does that make sense?
It does. It does indeed.
I believe that, and I don't know whether you've talked about this or not. I was on a few minutes late today, but I got on a few minutes late rather. But I read the article that Barbara sent today, and I believe that it is no coincidence that we are being inundated with the amount of energy that we are in very short periods of time. When we consider the eclipse, and we consider the solar flares, and now we're at this place with the alignment of the planet, with all of these coming into play. And then in August, the same thing again. All of this is about energy being infused into the earth. I do not believe for a moment that it's coincidental. I do believe that it is for the purpose, the express purpose rather, of not only increasing the intestinal fortitude for us to persevere, but I also believe that it is increasing our desires and for wisdom, and opening up the bastions of wisdom for us to be able to navigate the pitfalls that we have laid before us, so we can bring this thing to a place where a nation is the results of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I didn't bring it up because I didn't know if Barb was gonna bring it up, but she was waiting. But I got excited when I read it too. It speaks to us. If it speaks to whoever claims it, it's energy to be used in the earth, and we are the ones who have paid attention to it or paying attention to it. But the lining up of the planets like that, to me, is no coincidence. And they're all on the same plane. And the number 7 also spoke to me. The only thing I did not have time to look at, and I don't know if any of y'all did, or if you just know what each of those planets symbolize, or what they mean. So those questions kind of stuck in my head. But I thought that was absolutely amazing, especially with the timing of it, of all the other stuff, as Patrick said, that we've seen from the solar system here in the last couple of years.
Not only that, Ron, but the article talks about the alignment of the planets. I think it's going to be 6.
Okay.
And then in August and some other date, it's going to happen again. I mean, there's stuff that rarely happens. It's happening, and it's like it, as Pastor says, putting that energy out. And when we understand it, understand what it's doing, we can more fully use it to power and energize the resonance, the spiritual resonance that we have toward what's happening in this earth in general.
I thought that was, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pastor.
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
nothing. I'm just going to say thank you for correcting me. I said 7, it was 6. 6 plan. Maybe it's 7 that's going to happen in August. I can't remember. I have to find it again. But I just thought that was amazing.
It is indeed an amazing message. We don't know. We don't have to know how to use it. All we need to is desire for it to be used through us, or at the very least shown to us how to use it. And if it's not, it's okay, because that's our desire. We are the conduits. We are the open vessels that have submitted ourselves to the universe. So the energy of the universe, have access to guide us in the direction that the universe decides to guide us. And we are open to that. And as long as we are open to that, we will see the results of it in a very, 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 very positive way. Does that make sense?
It does.
Because none of us. Go ahead, Barb.
I was just going to piggyback on what you just said, that we're the conduit. And you know what? I never really understood being repairers of the breach, but this is an example of that when you're a repairer of the breach, you just allow that energy to flow through you. And that energy connects from the universe through you to the earth system. So by simply being available to it and desiring it helps to repair it, because that energy being funneled through you allow you to participate simply by submitting to it.
Yes.
And understanding that it's for the good of mankind.
And that in itself is very powerful. Because when you think about it, we've talked in church about submitting yourself to the Lord, and never knew what that looked like, what it meant, or what it felt like, for that matter. And here we are now, talking about being submissive to the energy of the universe, and we know what it feels like. We know what the results look like, because we've experienced it before. And that in itself tells us that the dogma, the teaching, the rituals, the meditation, it's okay, but it's not enough. It's the experience that counts. And we've had these experiences. And once you've had the experiences, that means that you have a history with the workings of the universe. So now you have no reason to doubt the reality of what's taking place. You have no reason to doubt what you're being taught. Why? Because you have heard the teachers before, and you have not only seen, but you've experienced the results of it. So it's undeniable that the truth is prevailing in the things that we are teaching.
Yeah. I repeat myself a lot, and hope that's okay with most of you. But I wanted to just say this. You guys have heard me talk about the time I asked my dad for a new pair of sneakers, and it was like Monday or Tuesday, and he told me it's done. You don't need to ask me anymore. And I didn't worry about it anymore. As I recall, I went to school that Friday with flip-flops on, because I knew I needed those shoes by that afternoon. They were gonna be there. And what am I saying to us? We carry ourselves as we know who we are. We are the energy of the universe. We are Elohim. We carry ourselves that way. Bob talks about being open, being submissive to this energy. Carry yourself that way. This is done. Be who we be. So as that's, part of the importance of discussing this, to reassure us of who we are, and not to fear, not to worry, not to be angry about crazy stuff. Because it's only Monday. You're gonna hear something stupid before the week's out. but just be prepared to, you know what? Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and keep going. You got this. We got this. It's just not Pastor anymore and Kathy dealing with the weather. It's all of us. So watch your thoughts and let that be with you. Let that be your energy.
That's why we talk about repeat things like the weather we're talking about today. It's not that Evelyn hadn't heard it.
Yeah.
It's that it's necessary for someone to bring it up because we need to be reminded. And we need to not only be reminded of it, but there are also people that who may not have gotten a clear understanding of it, and hopefully they did this time, because we are actually at a juncture where everything is going to be transformed at the same time. It's not like the weather go change today, the political climate go change tomorrow, the economic climate go change the next day. It's not like that at all. It's not like that. The same energy influences everything that I just named. So when that energy is handled, when that energy is transformed, everything changes at that moment. Does that make sense? Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because there's not a different energy for greed and murder. All of them are the same. Because one always leads to the other. So all of them are the same. As a matter of fact, if it were not for greed, there would not be murder. If it were not for greed, there would not be slavery. If it were not for greed, there would not be racism. Whatever we are dealing with can be traced back to greed, regardless of what it is. So the source of discontentment, the source of destruction of the earth, as well as the interaction between humanity, is greed. Bottom line, it's greed. And it matters not whether people say, well, we're not like we once were. The manifest doctrine, manifest destiny is no longer in effect. Yes, it is. If manifest destiny was no longer in effect, are you going to give the Native Americans their land back? So it is in effect. You have done what you need to do with it, and that hasn't changed. The only thing that changes that is when we come to grip with the reality that all of these things happened for the express purpose of so as above, so is below, meaning that the continuity of thought and the positive interactions of energy in the upper world must be the same in this world, rather, must be the same as they are in the other world, meaning that all of these things happen so that the God in this earth had the opportunity to take these substances of evil, or these substances of discontentment, the substances of all the ism, the greed, etc., and mold them into a energy force that is beneficial to humanity, just like the energy forces in the universe are beneficial to humanity. Does that make sense? That's what I see. That's our purpose.
Yeah.
And I believe that when we really get down to the nitty gritty, if everything that is in this material world that is brought into existence by men, if these things are an illusion, then that means that slavery is an illusion. That means greed is an illusion. Because all of this was brought into existence by whom? Men, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's very difficult for us to wrap our mind around, because we experience them and we have experienced them. It is my belief that if we stay the course and hold on to what we know the truth to be, men won't have to experience that anymore. We are that vanguard. We are that wall between men having to go through this again, because all of the energy that is not beneficial for humanity has to come through us. And we are the agents of transformation. If you know who you are, you transform energy. And that transformation of energy brings life into this earth like no man has ever experienced before. And that in itself frees us from all of the painful illusions that we have had to encounter and endure. And it brings us to a place of balance. And we cease to just seek our happiness in this material world, because we understand something. There is no happiness in this material world. There is absolutely nothing in this material world that makes you happy. It gives you a sense of being happy, but it wears off. If it truly made you happy, you would be happy all the time. The only thing that makes us happy, that keeps us happy all the time, is when we embrace who we are. The joy that we experience comes from the spiritual nature of our being. It comes from knowing that we are able to remove the energy from a storm that's going to be deadly and destroy people. We are more concerned about ceasing the destruction of people than we are of property. This is where the joy comes from. This is where our spiritual growth comes from. It does not come from anything in this material world. There's nothing in this material world that can give you spiritual growth. Absolutely nothing. Spiritual growth comes from, first of all, your desire. And your desire will take you to a place that you have not visited before. And when you get to that place that you've never visited before, you won't even know you're there. Your desire, your sincere desire, takes you to an internal place, a place within the depths of your soul. And when you get to that place, you don't even recognize it. It takes time to recognize it because your eye has to be opened. And when your eye begins to open, you are able to see that you are more than what you see when you look in the mirror. And when you begin to see that you're more than what you see in that mirror, and you begin to embrace the reality that you are the answer to the joy of humanity, because you are not looking for anything from it other than balance for the whole earth. It is then that you begin to experience that joy. It is then that you begin to have a continuous sense of happiness about you. And there are interludes with this material world that causes you sometimes to forget or to not feel or experience that happiness. But it's easy to bring it back when you sit with it. When you sit with it and you bring yourself to this place and remove yourself from this material world and internalize who you are and recognize that you are, this body is in this material world is not you. The spiritual essence of your being moves this body from place to place that gives you opportunity to interact with this material world for the purposes of changing it. And when that happens, that is one heck of a experience that has a type of euphoria that no one can explain to you. It's that experience that you have is inexplicable. There are no words, that there are no adjectives that can describe that experience, but you know it's there. That's who and what we must embrace as our reality, because everything else in this material world is ego driven. Everything spiritual is driven by a desire to know who you are and to be one with not just the one who created us, but to recognize the unicity that we have with each other. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? Or am I being confusing?
It's not confusing.
No, it makes sense, Pastor Jay.
It does.
And we have to embrace this. Because I'm going to tell you something. If we fail on this journey, we have failed humanity. If we fail on this journey, we have lied because we said not on our watch. And I hold true to that today as I did the first day we said it. Matter of fact, more so now than ever before. Because we have been shown the underbelly of the atrocities that is taking place in this world. We have been shown the underbelly of those who seek to maintain control in this world at the expense of the lives of anyone else, minimizing the growth of people who don't look like them for the express purpose of being able to maintain control over them. We have been shown this. And because the Creator has seen fit to expose us to this and let us not only experience, but to see it, that means that we are trusted with something that very few, if any, has ever been trusted with. We have been trusted with the energy for the bonding together of humanity that was brought into this earth from the beginning. We have been charged with bringing humanity to an understanding that it is far more than this material world. that it is the spiritual essence of everything that matters. Because the spiritual essence can change anything that's material. We have one heck of a charge on us. We are not only the man in the gap or the entity that's in the gap, we are the gap also. We are everything that's necessary to bring humanity to balance. We are that. The Creator has shown us that all of these entities that claim to be spiritual have never intended to seek anything spiritual. They came into existence for self-preservation and greed, not for the preservation of humanity. None of them, not Christianity, not Judaism, not Islam, not Buddhism, none of them are in existence for the perpetuation of humanity. All of them are for the control of humanity. And spirituality exists for the unicity, for the oneness of humanity, to exist in this world without having to beg, borrow, or steal for anything. Knowing that, just like the one who created us, those who are on this front line, this journey, seek to be just like their Creator, making provisions for everyone without regard to who you are or what you have done in your past. That's who we are. That's our charge. And we must hold true to that charge. Even if everyone walks away, I stand. You must feel the same way. Regardless of who walk away, you must be willing to stand. And after having done all, to stand, no matter what you have to endure, because the Creator will make sure that you are strong enough to endure it. I'm done. Thank you.
We were made for that.
Yes, we're wired that way. We're built that way. You're right.
Any questions, y'all? Comments? Everybody okay? All right. Good place to pause then. And enjoy your meditations. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone, bye.
Bye-bye.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Bye bye.